So, have you ever wondered what would happen if the plan to change a country didn't come from politicians, but from the people themselves? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at a citizen authored document, a manifesto really, called Nigeria's Roadmap to Change 2027. And it lays out a pretty bold, some might even say controversial path forward. So let's break it all down. All right, so this whole thing kicks off with a paradox, a real head scratcher. Think about it. In 2023, Nigeria was dealing with record-breaking hardship. We're talking massive inflation, insecurity everywhere, just deep, deep dissatisfaction. And yet, the ruling party, the APC, still won the election. How does that happen? Well, this document argues that if you want to understand the path to 2027, you first got to solve the puzzle of 2023. And right from the very start, the authors are crystal clear about who this is for. They are basically saying, this isn't for the political elite. Nope, this is for the everyday Nigerian who is really feeling the squeeze. The roadmap completely reframes the whole conversation. It's not about party politics, it's about the daily struggles of real people. And it all boils down to one simple question that just cuts through all the noise. Can't we do better than this? Okay, so first things first, the diagnosis. Before you can find a cure, you gotta know what the problem is, right? So the roadmap starts by laying out the stark reality of what the nation was facing and exactly how the 2023 election ended up being such a paradox. And this is where the roadmap gets really, really real. It takes these big, abstract headlines you might see on the news and translates them into actual human cost. So it's not just record inflation, it's food prices are so high you can't afford to eat. It's not just widespread insecurity, it means farmers literally cannot go to their farms. The whole argument here is that these aren't just statistics on a page. For millions of people, these are daily emergencies. So, okay, if things were that bad, the big question is, why didn't the opposition win? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? Well, according to this document, it all drills down to one single fatal flaw: division. The argument is that a fragmented opposition didn't just lose the election, they effectively handed victory to the incumbent party on a silver platter. And this is the number that is right at the heart of their entire argument: 37%. That's it. That's the share of the vote it took to win the presidency. The roadmap basically calls this a minority mandate, because if you flip it, what does that mean? It means the majority of voters, a whopping 63%, actually cast their ballots against the winning party. I mean, look at this. The math is just brutal. There's no other word for it. When you add up the votes for the main opposition parties, the combined total absolutely crushes the APC's numbers. It's not even close. So the conclusion the roadmap draws is pretty much unavoidable. A united opposition wouldn't have just been competitive. They would have won, period. Okay, so that's the diagnosis of the problem. Now let's pivot to the solution. And according to the roadmap, the entire strategy is built on one single core principle. And it's called the Nigeria First principle. It's a pretty straightforward idea, really. The country's well-being has to come before everything else, before any political party, before any single candidate, and definitely before any personal ambition. But the document is clear. This can't just be a catchy slogan. It has to be a fundamental shift in the entire political mindset. And then the document makes it really personal. It poses this direct, super challenging question to every single person who says they want change. It's basically asking you to look in the mirror and ask yourself this. So the whole path forward isn't really framed as just a political strategy. It's framed as a collective sacrifice for a much bigger goal. All right, so it's one thing to have a principle, but how do you turn that into an actual victory? Well, the roadmap doesn't just leave it at that. It lays out a very detailed 5-phase action plan to get it done.
So here's the basic game plan. Step 1, consolidate. Bring everyone together into one unified front. Step 2, message. Craft a single, powerful message that speaks directly to what people are feeling, to their pain points. After that, it's all about execution. You build a massive ground game, you offer a real, hopeful alternative, and, this is key, you do it all on a very strict, non-negotiable timeline.
And believe me, when they talk about the timeline, they are not messing around. It's aggressive. The document basically screams that the work has to start now, not later. It sets these hard deadlines, like a public commitment to a single, unified candidate by June 2026. And then that candidate has to be selected by December 2026. This isn't a wish list, folks. The document presents it as a ticking clock, a countdown. Now, a huge piece of this whole strategy is pretty simple on the surface. Just get more people to actually vote. The roadmap identifies these key groups that had really low turnout in 2023. We're talking young people, women, rural voters, and it sets some seriously aggressive new targets for them. The goal here isn't just to play the old game better, it's to completely redraw the electoral map. So, how do you actually reach all these voters? Well, the plan calls for building a modern, data-driven political machine. We're talking about training more than 500,000 poll agents just to protect the vote. We're talking about surgically targeting key swing states and partnering up with civil society groups to supercharge voter registration. The whole idea is to leave absolutely nothing to chance. This next part is really interesting. The plan even gets into the psychology of messaging. It lays out this simple rule, the 30-70 split. Only 30% of the campaign's message should focus on the current government's failures. The other 70%, the vast majority, has to be about hope, a positive, compelling vision for a new Nigeria. The core insight here is powerful. People need something to vote for, not just something to vote against. So, after all that, the diagnosis, the detailed action plan, all the steps, the document boils everything down to one final stark choice for the entire country. And it's presented as this very clear fork in the road. Scenario 1, the opposition stays divided, just like last time, and, the document argues, the hardship continues. Or, Scenario 2, the opposition unites behind that Nigeria First principle, and a totally new direction becomes possible. It's two paths leading to two vastly different futures. And crucially, the roadmap insists this is not just a job for politicians, not at all. It basically assigns homework to everyone. Political leaders, they have to put their egos aside and unite. Activists, their job is to organize on the ground. And ordinary citizens, they have one absolutely essential job: register to vote and then show up and vote. You know, in the end, it all comes back to this one point. The math, the authors argue, is simple. You can see it on a chart. The real question is about something much, much harder. It's about will. Is there the collective will to actually unite for a common cause? And the entire roadmap closes not with a bold statement or an answer, but with a really profound question from the great Nigerian writer Chinua Achebe. The document doesn't even try to answer it. Instead, it suggests that in 2027, the people of Nigeria themselves will provide the answer.